So let's start with a brief introduction. Tell us a bit about yourself and what motivated your shift from banking career at JP Morgan to co-founding the AI-driven company WATI.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Bianca. I'm the co-founder and COO of WATI. So I started, I was studying economics at university. Banking seems like a very natural and also high-paying job, after graduation. And of course, I was very blessed to be at JP Morgan. But one thing deep down, I knew banking is not something I like to do day in and day out. Whenever I read, all the research has mainly about technology. So that was something that I was very aware and self-aware of. So actually, I then took 80% pay cut to joining a local Hong Kong startup as I'm based in Hong Kong. And later on, went on to lead Greater China so that was kind of the background before starting the AI company WATI, which is in a very similar space in customer engagement.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So tell us a bit about the role of AI in WATI's platform and how it enhances personalized customer interactions at scale.
Sure. So let me take a step back and explain what WATI is, what we do, who we work with, and then how AI helps them. So today, WATI works with 12,000 customers across the globe in 165 countries. So it's a very global platform. What we do is we simplify business messaging, and specifically we help our customers on WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook Messenger for their sales, marketing, and support conversations. Being in a conversational heavy kind of market, we understood AI was very important early on because there's just a much bigger volume comparing to other forms because it's so much easier to produce text. So what we have done so far is we've launched an AI agent called NoBot, of which just using extremely simple PDF websites, you can then help your agent to automatically respond to your end customers. And at the same time, when it detects an intention of talking to an agent, then it will be passed on to someone in WATI. So meaning your team can use, say first qualify the lead using the PDF, and then later on then pass on to, say, Emmanuel when the customer asks for additional information that the AI agent can't respond. And that really improves our customers' efficiency.
Fantastic. So in your view, what does the future hold for AI in transforming business messaging and customer engagement?
I think it's an incredibly exciting time for us to be alive. And particularly, I would say AI can do a lot on the business messaging side because of the, use case I was just explaining on lead qualification, on making an appointment, to introducing the products, right? Like those are things and simple things that the AI agent can already do. And I think what's additional is that you can also book the appointment, right? Not just like, hey, what does your service do? How can I join and all that, and then redirect them to another link. What is very exciting is the action piece, right? Which is like, hey, do you process a payment or process a refund? What are the framework that you set around that? What's the workflow? How does the current team check? So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to automate those conversations and at the same time drive business results.
So as AI continues to take over more customer-facing roles, how should companies balance efficiency with ethical concerns like bias, privacy, and transparency issues?
I think each company needs to think in terms of the data access, and then, how do you set the relevant framework, workflows, ways to prevent it from being misused, right? So again, I think the ethical concern, I think it's very easy to solve for privacy. For example, hey, we need to validate whether that person is, the right person. You need them to log in. Transparency, just being clear that you're talking to an AI agent. In fact, I've actually seen a switch in human behaviors in the trust towards AI agents is becoming higher. Right? Meaning I would probably opt for an AI agent versus talking to a person who doesn't really understand the context. So I would say there's a behavioral shift for using AI to handle customer facing conversations. But at the same time, I think it's through the iteration of trial and error that you can find, hey, what is the fine line that works for your company, or which are the very mission critical things that you don't want an AI to touch. So I think it's similar, like if you ask me, it's similar to designing systems in human life, right? Like within our company, how many people do you work with? How do you design systems, policies that works well for them? What is their how do you empower them? Right. I think it's very similar to AI agents.
All right. So how do you see AI reshaping the job market, and what skills should professionals focus on developing?
So today I would say it's like computers. Like you can either use it very well, or you can use, say, the abacus to calculate, right? And I think it's necessary for everyone to devote time learning about AI, using different AI agents, assisting your work. And of course, I think some roles AI would take on a lot more, some roles a bit less. So in terms of kind of like reshaping the job market, I think there are many, like it's impacting in many, many ways, but specifically for, say support or customer engagement. I would say, or actually in general, like I'll talk about maybe more generic skills. I think you have to learn how to work alongside with AI, right? Be it if you're a coder, you need to learn Copilot. Be it if you are, a script writer, you need to kind of figure out how to use ChatGPT to come up with kind of questions and answers, questions and, how to guide that conversation. Yeah, like basically, I think it's going to be omnipresent, and you need to learn how to work alongside with an AI and making you more effective.
Perfect. So typically discussions around AI focus on big corporations, but how can AI-driven solutions help SMEs to compete in the digital economy?
I think the more I kind of read into the progress that we see day to day in AI, the more I think big corporations no longer have that edge, because you can build a lot faster, iterate faster with a smaller team. And I think the AI-driven solutions now are, like, say, even on the LLM level, cheaper, kind of like very, very quickly, right? There's always another LLM that's competing with, say, like a ChatGPT. In that case, I think it's helping it's overall increasing the pie. Basically, more and more customers or SMEs, large companies, can pay to access to these tools and be able to do it much more effectively. So now I've seen a lot more when I talk to my friends and I ask, like, hey, how do you do this? Like, they're somehow involving ChatGPT in part of that. So I think, and of course, you can use different models too. And I think that is a positive towards the SME, because the pace will be a lot faster. You need to be more agile.
All right. So AI has many benefits, as you and I know, but they've also been a lot of concerns, stemming from privacy issues, deepfake, and the rest of them. And that has led to calls for regulation. So amid these calls for regulations, what balance do you think should be struck between fostering innovation and ensuring responsible AI development?
It's very interesting. In fact, I was reading this book about management, and I feel one of the quotes would resonate a lot. And the quote was, like, I'm paraphrasing because it's in a different language. The quote was, you cannot create systems that only focuses on the very few that are abusing the system. In fact, from a management perspective, you should be assuming innocence, from team members. And like, honestly, the book is not specifically on tech or anything. It's actually about like a very famous hot pot chain restaurant in China called Haidilao. And what I found incredibly interesting about that is also with like the balance of innovation and responsible AI development. I do think it is irreversible change in our lives, our work lives, our personal lives as well. However, I think the regulation should still be there, but not stifling innovation. When you stifle innovation, what we have seen like time over time is that, the more you stifle it, the more you're left behind the more you're really far from kind of where that bleeding edge is. And I think it's, critical to stay on top of this rather than being left behind. But again, I would say policies, I can't really comment, like policy making, I really can't comment, but I would err on the side of more creating opportunities, making that pie bigger, ensuring people embrace it rather than calling for restriction of it.
Awesome. So to a large extent, women are very much underrepresented in AI and tech leadership. You are a woman in tech. You are a leader in the sector. So based on your experience, what steps do you think the industry needs to take in order to close the gap between male and female leaders in the tech space?
I'm incredibly lucky. Within WATI, we have roughly 50% of our team who are leaders, who are also female women, I think. And I've not kind of woke up one day and think like, hey, I'm woman, right? Like I'm in this industry with a lot of men, although that might be true. And as an industry participant, what I'm trying to do is few folds, right? One is just hire the best people for your roles. And I think, that's, very obvious. But of course, like I think it's incredibly important not to let the fact that, this candidate is female or they might bear a child to cloud your judgment on their performance, right? So I think that's one. And of course, our company also has very generous paid maternity and paternity leave so that we want to ensure our team is able to balance a very challenging work environment together with fulfillment on the personal side, as just like natural. Then the second piece of it is continually mentoring and inspiring other women to take on these roles. I don't think it's a matter of education. I think it's more a matter of, I've seen like every time, when I talk to people, they'll be like, oh, I've seen Elon Musk somewhere. I heard about this quote and that's why I also want to be like him. Like those are usually the inspirations that people needed in their daily lives. And the fact that, and my team will continually be part of that kind of inspiration.
All right. So there is an ongoing debate about AI's role in the creative industries. Do you think AI can ever truly replicate human creativity, or should it be purely seen as an assistive tool?
My take is more assisted. Again, like computer. It's of course like I can't do any work without a computer, but also computer is not the only way to work. I can also think, I can also read, like there are many ways to kind of do work and think clearly. So my view is for creative industries, it's more an assistant, right? Like you can just speed up the content creation or speed up the video taking or like, cutting out like sound bites, like making shorts, like they can make this faster. At the core of the human, it has to be hey, where do I want to bring this? Why do I think this is important? Why do I think fundamentally this is important? And then what type of content do I create? Who do I want to speak to? What niche do I kind of target to? And driving that direction, right? Rather than like, hey, just generate like 10 random questions or topics that I'll just talk about. Again, I think it's helpful to ideate or create a draft. But when it comes to actual execution, or, like have like 10 shorts and see which one works better. There's like a lot of things that it is able to kind of speed up, but completely replacing is challenging.
All right. So just a follow-up to that question. We see chatbots and AI-driven communication tools like WATI continue to improve. So as this continue to happen, do you think they will ever fully replace human interactions in customer service?
Even as someone in this industry, I think completely replacing is challenging. Because there are so many edge cases, there are like human things where like, hey, it's an old time client, do they really care? Like, there are things that as human nature would be difficult to add all of the edge cases to this tool. And, hence what I said, the framework and all of that. So I don't think it will fully replace human interactions.
All right. So how do you see AI impacting emerging markets, especially in regions like where I'm based right now in Nigeria, where even though we have a lot of improvements in our digital infrastructure, it is not fully developed. So how do you think AI can impact us here?
I think it is going to leapfrog, if you ask me. And the reason is if the infrastructure, what I've seen, like, for example, in the US or Canada, like, there's a strong tendency to use emails. And as a result, then when it comes to customer support, it's still primarily on emails, right? And that's sufficient. But where you say, if you see in Asia or Africa, we see messaging being much more important tool because there's just like so much, people don't use email that much. There's a lot more chatting involved. And that means, that's why you see the penetration for, say, like a WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram being a lot higher, or even other tools. I think the emerging market adoption of technology would just jump directly to messaging instead of going back to email plus phone plus messaging, right? Like that's what I see. It is gonna displace, at least for our space, displace it completely, right?
Let's talk about misinformation as it relates to AI and deepfake. So it's a growing trend, especially with the rise of AI technology. So as this AI technology continues to rise, what strategies should businesses and policymakers adopt to combat misinformation?
I always look at quotes, or I'll always ask for quotes after reading what's in ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Claude, right? Like, so I think that's important to stay critical or have a critical thinking when it comes to consuming content. Yeah, I think that is more important.
So the responsibility lies partly with the users. That's what you mean by that, right?
Yes, yeah. Like the user needs to not take everything that's generated from those directly as the truth. Like also need to apply that lens of, does this make sense? Where does this come from? Does it come from a source that's trustworthy? All of that into account.
All right. So drawing from your journey, what advice would you offer to individuals that are looking to transition into tech, especially in the AI domain?
My advice would be start it first, launch it, and get feedback. There are people who try to kind of perfect it as much as possible, but the faster you get user feedback, the faster you know whether something is going to work or not. So I think don't create, I think one of the kind of saying that adage that we have is like, there's 1,000 reasons as an excuse, but there's only one reason to do it. And just like the answer is just to do it. So I think, I would say it's definitely the execution and kind of doing it that makes it a lot faster and learning much more.
All right. So looking ahead, what excites you the most about AI's potential, and what do you think will be the biggest challenge in the next 10 years, and also the biggest big advantage to come out of AI in the next 10 years? Currently, AI has advantages and disadvantages, right? Mm-hmm. So in the next 10 years, what do you think would be the biggest challenges or disadvantages? And also, what do you think would be the biggest advantages in the next 10 years from now?
Got it. Thank you. In the next 10 years, I think AI would continue to be developed, and it would become, like, say, one AI is really good at doing analytics. Then another AI is really good at mathematics. Another AI is very good at analysis. And then it can get to, a pretty regular human beings thinking. I think that's where I expect it to be continually developing and to be continually able to do. The challenge remains to be, if you, a funny one, honestly, would be, then what are we left to do, right? What are, humans who have, studied at university, has a degree, will do? What do fresh graduates do, right? That's a huge question mark. To me, I think that's one of the challenges that humans will need to face in the next 10 years.
Wow. So I have one more question. This just came to me. So, some people think this is the highest level of innovation we've ever seen in the history of humanity. We've experienced the social media boom, all the other innovations, but this AI is really very revolutionary. And I know some people are already talking about quantum computing and the rest of them. But do you think another innovation would ever supersede what we currently see right now with regards to AI?
Like an AGI you're referring to, or you're more like any other technological differences?
Yes, any other technology that will be bigger than AI.
Living on another planet? Yeah, I mean, honestly, the world is very exciting. It's fast paced. I think it creates a lot of anxiety in people too. Like if you ask me, including myself, I'm like, what am I doing now? Although of course, like I'm working on this startup like day in, day out. But yeah, like if you ask me if it's like leapfrogging, like it would be humans able to live on another planet. You know, that's very different, right? Because honestly, like in the past, as long as kind of Earth and human species have been around, like we have been on the Earth. So, you know, like having an habitable place in another planet would definitely be another leapfrog. I do hope we
Wow.
can stick with our homes though.
Yeah. Do you plan to expand to Africa anytime soon?
I'm interested to learn more about the market. I don't know it very well. We do have customers from Zimbabwe, Nigeria, but not a whole lot yet. Do you see them adopting business messages?
Yes, we currently have similar things here. Most of the big companies automate their responses. Just like you said, it's only when someone actually wants to speak to an agent, a human agent, that you can request for that. You know, then you have that. Yeah.
So you see larger companies pick it up first.
Yes, mostly banks. Banks use